not so much of the past, but they get terrified of the truth combined with the past. That's where they get terrified. And that's what costed me up here in LBL. I spent entirely way too much time up there towards praying and fasting for a revival. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I literally planted a Indian Native American site up there in the Land Between the Lakes area, because I had caught wind probably, well, it went all the way back to 1980 and 9, whenever I first started researching this area, that I had caught and whiff that what they was going to do, they was going to wait for 3 or 4 generations to die out, the ones that got burnt and hurt real bad towards the takeover. And that's exactly how you got to look at it. Those people's rights basically got taken over, all in the name of progression. You know what I'm saying? In the name of modern progression as far as electricity and et cetera, et cetera. And that they was going to wait till 3 or 4 generations died out, and eventually they was going to come back in, because it was in the contract, and offer everybody that initially got burnt and hurt pertaining to their grandparents and their great-grandparents, of giving them first option of buying back their farms. And what they was going to do was open Land Between the Lakes up towards the general public. Well, you know as well as I do, whenever you wait 75 years since the takeover, I guess the final
you
takeover.
Get water, dear.
That'll work.
No ice. I don't have the ice either.
That'll work.
I took the last of the ice cubes a few minutes ago, but we have no sodas at all. So.
But the final takeover, I guess, was long about 1939. But that's when the contract actually started playing into effect towards, we're getting everybody off of this peninsula. Of course, it took them, I think, about 12, 13, 14 years before they actually got everybody off. But according to the contract, that if the property ever did come up for sale, the first people that would have the rights of going back in and buying back their father or their grandfather or their great-grandfather's farm was the people that was still descendant to those families. Well, whenever I went in there and planted a Native American Cherokee sacred site in the center of it, that throwed a monkey wrench on them being able to do that. And there's no doubt I made a lot of enemies up here in Kentucky. Matter of fact, I can go across the river over there, go to Aurora, and then shoot back down. I guess it would be west from Aurora, over there in that campsite. You know where the campsite is, where they got like 2 campsites and there's a bridge right there? I don't forgot the name of that campsite. Wrangler. There used to be a town that got flooded right there called Birmingham. There must be a whole lot of people over there that remember me, because I guarantee you, if I drive over there in my truck, they will not like me at all. Because once more, I throwed a clinker or a rock in their future development plans pertaining to Land Between the Lakes. And anytime you start digging up skeletons, they don't like that. You start snooping around with big people with big money, they don't like that. They don't like that at all. See, my understanding throughout the history of Land Between the Lakes, there has been numerous amount of people that has actually tried to go into Land Between the Lakes and homestead. Homestead, literally homestead. And the reason why is because supposedly they still got it on the books up there in Lexington, or not Lexington, but wherever the state house is. They still got it in the books that if you can prove that you've been on a piece of property I think it's 21 plus days, you can go file a petition up at the courthouse for a quick claim. It's still on the books. That's the reason why their rules and regulations is so stringent over there in Land Between the Lakes. They're very, very stringent. It may be more than 21 days. It may be something like 41 days or 51 days. I may be wrong about the actual date, but I am not wrong about the law, the old law still being in effect up at the courthouse. And some of the people would catch on to that law, and the next thing you know, because their ancestors or their brother or their uncle or somebody got hurt towards selling the property for $11 an acre, whenever they should have got $111 an acre at the time whenever it got bought out, decides to trape off in the Land Between the Lakes and try to do a quick claims deed, tries to do a homestead deed. Well, they have had in the past years multiple people. Of course, they had more of it in the front end, going back into the late 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and then it steadily dwindled away. But there was a lot of people that objected to what went on. A lot of people, because the first buyout from the Tennessee Valley Association was an absolute must. That had to be done. And of course that upset them. That got them disturbed. And then of course whenever TVA went in there and tried to reform this, and I mean, I can take you to parks, and I'm sure Chip can too. I can take you to parks that now have been abandoned, but the picnic tables and the water and the bathrooms, they're all grown up. You got to know where they're at. But I can take you to parks where they really invested a lot of money towards trying to kick that back off. And I guess once they realized that it hurt the morale of the people that was on that peninsula because they lost so much footage on both sides, they decided to just go in there and just kill the whole project. That's whenever Mr. Kennedy flew over and declared it as a disaster and turned it into a Kentucky hunting and rescue deal. And of course, under that certain law that they have, I don't know if I got the name of the law, where they can put in a post office or a duck hunting club or an interstate, under that particular law, I guess they can come in and, if they wanted to, tell you to move. They'd have to pay X amount of dollars for your property, but I mean, whenever it comes to the government, they can push and shove.
Highways and airports.
Yeah, they can push and shove.
But
Is it diplomatic immunity?
You know, it's been so long ago that most of us don't talk about it anymore.
Why not?
Because it's not a very positive thing. Can't do anything about it.
Can't do nothing about the past.
Can't do anything about fighting big government. You just already said that earlier in the conversation.
Yeah. It's kind of like
ain't a big fish and they're big fish, so you can't beat them, so you might as well try to swim comfortably out of the way underneath the water with them, because
sure.
you know it just doesn't and it's been bothering you as long as I've ever known you, which is at least 20 years. So it's like, I'd really like to hope you find
you want me to find my peace and happiness. I know you do.
Yeah, because your heart you got a great big ass heart.
Yeah.
You do almost anything for anybody.
I do anything.
So,
as long as it,
you gotta let go of some of that yesterday shit you can't do much about.
I know.
And enjoy tomorrow and today.
But if we didn't have strong minds, strong voices, strong ideals pertaining to being an activist, and that's what I picture myself as an activist. If we didn't have people that had strong will, where would the rest of us be? And I'm just going to use this for a quick example, and I think you can finally see a turnaround pertaining to global warming, environmental crisis. The younger generation, the millennials growing up now, has a completely different concept about this planet than you and I do. Completely different, because they have studied and they have looked at charts and they have looked at patterns towards this was the way it was in this year, and this was the way it was in this century, and this is the way it was in that century. And they're smart, and they put two and two together, and because of it, did you see what happened this weekend? There was a massive movement all over the planet. I'm talking about hundreds of millions of people stood up and said, we demand for our politicians to take charge of this situation, because in another 15 or 20 years, the damn planet's liable to not be inhabitable. Oh, it was all over. London, Australia, France, England. They had TV charts of every major city in America where kids just walked out of schools, elementary schools, walked out. All of them holding picket signs. We demand, once more, you have to have a strong will as an activist, kind of like Martin Luther King. I mean, yeah.
I wouldn't argue any of it.
Martin Luther King was a strong.
I wouldn't argue any of it, but at the same time, you know, it would be nice to see you find peace. Also, because you've been in trouble since the day I met you.
Because of being misunderstood.
For a lot of reasons.
For being misunderstood.
That being a big one, as you know your life better than anyone. So if that's number one, that's just being that. I'm just saying that, you know, talking about the land between the lakes, you know, is in a lot of history books and things around here. But, you know, you do what you need to do. That's you.
Sure.
You're right, and I support those rights. The only thing that I say to you is that at this point, and I guess it's even for me though, a little bit, is that I don't like to hear it anymore.
It's not
I've
productive.
heard it for 40 years, and you can't do anything about it.
But it become more than just a story with me. It become more than just a story with me. It become a influence in my life towards being non-productive, because I was so stuck out there. And that's what I was telling you earlier. I think I drawn a lot of attention to myself towards staying up there in tents and etc. entirely too long, and because of it, it made some people wonder, what the hell is this guy staying up here in the woods is living like Jeremiah Johnson so much for? Of course, this was during my younger years. I didn't have this big belly like I got now. You know what I'm saying? But my passion, my drive was there.
It's still there.
Yeah, it
as
is.
you're saying, you have a certain inalienable right to keep that passion till the day you die.
Sure.
You know, I just, for me, you come into my world here. I'm an old hippie. I've worked 50 years of my life already, or more. People come and pay to stay here and
Enjoy
life. You know, enjoy the peace and solitude and the beauty of it.
And like you said, you've listened to it from probably over 1,000 different testimonies, 1,000 different people, and it's become old hat to you.
Well,
I understand, because you don't have no dog in that race.
It's just like
you don't have no dog in that race.
Climate change is to me more important. Getting rid of the president is more important.
Prioritizing things.
He's ruining this country.
Prioritizing things.
Yeah, he's trying to be Hitler. What he is. He wants
I don't
to be
know
like,
what he's trying to be, and I don't think he knows
like
what he's trying to be. Do
Oh,
you?
yes, he does.
I think he's kind of like a floating symbol, don't you? He's just kind of out there. You know,
He's only one Supreme Court justice away from taking over complete control of the whole government.
no way.
One more. And that's when Luther guys. They will have appointed 6 of the 9 judges. And there's no way you can override it. So they take complete
So
control.
what's the benefit? What's the benefit? Let's look at the worst case scenario here. Let's say that Donald Trump did want to bring martial law to the American land. Because he's got so many people bought off and favored in his corner, he'll be more likely to accomplish it, won't he? Look at the big picture.
What did Hitler accomplish? they put 6 million people to death. And one of the first ones to go were people like me, gay people. And he singled out Jewish people, and then the gay people, and the millions and billions of people went to the world.
That didn't think like him.
Did anybody rise up and complain?
That didn't think like him. That didn't have the same incentives.
Brainwashed all of the society into being able to justify exterminating anything that they don't like.
Well, you know, a lot of people don't know this.
This country got a lot more things to worry about than the land between the lakes. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
But at the same
And I
time,
understand your concept.
I like being quiet. No offense, it's been a long weekend. We had 25 people Friday and Saturday, and they love for me to sit here and entertain them. So.
Oh, I'm sure. You ever
I've got to get back. I got to blow off all my leaves off the decks. That's my job. I got to get out and clean the pool. So I hate to, end a good conversation, but I really do need to get to work.
But you're waiting on a blower, right?
I have to go in and tell them to blow, but I didn't want them to just do it without having rude to you. I wanted to share with you, at the right time. But I need to go back to work. My nephew is waiting for me, and the more leaves that are on the pool deck.
But I do want to clarify this with you.
Sure.
Before Hitler ever made his move, he sat down and masterminded what he wanted to achieve going all the way back into the late 20s and throughout the 30s. And the reason why I know this is because Hitler was steadily bringing sympathizers. Rousers, people coming over here preaching his doctrine and trying to get people to sympathize with the cause pertaining to Aryanism, the Nazi symbol and all that. So he really put a lot of interest and a lot of passion and a lot of time in what he was involved in doing.
He's still.
Oh, we're still feeling the effects, and the planet will probably feel the effects of his poison the rest of the planet's life.
And Trump is evil.
From his evil, yeah.
He is evil.
He is evil. Pure evil.
The worst thing that ever happened in my 70 years of life.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of that.
Here, give me a hug.
Yep, take care.
Good to see you. Thanks for bringing the thing by. I wish I could use it, but I really just don't have a place to use it.
Well, you never know. Like I said earlier, it was a long shot. It was a long shot of whether or not you was going to accept it or not. But
in a second, if you'll start the blower, I'll do the blower.
Okay.
I'll try to finish a better job than I did yesterday. I got stoned before I started blowing, and I forgot half of my job.
But you never know until I brought it to you to look at it to make that decision. Yeah, I want that or I don't want that. I could have talked until I was black and blue in the face, and you never would have understood what I was talking about.
Yes, dear, I agree.
I'll see you, Chip.
Okay.
Don't work your heart out here.
Okay.